Oi, 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 how's it going? It's me, your boy Wattles. Welcome back to the Minecraft Guide, episode number 16. We've done it. We have a quarter stack of episodes. This is exciting. In celebration, as always, I'm going to leave the link to the playlist for this whole series on screen in case any of you missed an episode. That would be not good at all. Now, last episode was an exploration episode. In that episode, we got lucky and found one of the rarest biomes in Minecraft, the Badlands, or even better, the Mesa biome. Now, we live right here where this green marker is. The Mesa is way down there. This is on the same map, so we're really close to a Mesa this time around, and that makes me happy. Very, very happy indeed. Now, today's episode, or the star of today's episode, waits for us patiently over here on this acacia tree. Take a look at that. That boy right there, that's one of my best friends ever, actually. That thing, well, that's the vine, the Minecraft vine. Today, it's going to be all about farming these things so we can make the beautiful block variants that we so desperately need. Now, the vine farm. So, I looked around before the episode in search of a perfect plot of land for this thing, and I think that plot is going to be right over here. So we're going to start today's project off with a tiny bit of leveling. Before the episode, I did go ahead and count out 20 blocks. Those 20 blocks are in between this beam and that beam over there, or these future beams, but they're not just going to be normal beams. We're going to do something really cool. Now, I've got to be honest, I am still in love with last season's vine farm design, but I think it would be kind of lame to just repeat the build, so we're going to do something a little bit different. I think this design is going to be more about aesthetics rather than function. If you remember the last guide season, we made a really cool vine farm that really drove us through the whole season. It was perfect. It used water, it used hanging vines, and it was great. This time around, we're going to skip the water and we're not going to skip the hanging vines, but we're going to skip the water and go for something that I think fits the vibe of our area a little bit more, and it definitely looks a little bit better, or at least it should if we can get it looking how it looks in my head right now. But before we can do all of that, we need a flat area of land, so that is exactly where we're starting today. As always, you gotta love torches. Well, kind of. You gotta love torches for doing things like this. You gotta hate torches for doing lighting, because they're pretty ugly. Not gonna lie. Sorry, not sorry, torch. I'm getting my revenge right now. I can't get this down right. I guess I should have never said anything bad about the torch. It's just not cooperating today. So something like that should be way more than good enough. Now, vines are one of the easiest things to farm in Minecraft, but they are also one of the hardest things to farm in Minecraft. Vines are really easy to farm because their only requirement for growth is space below them. You don't need to worry about water, you don't need to worry about like a biome or a Y level or anything. You literally just need to worry about having space below your initial vine plant for it to actually grow. So, with that being said, this is going to be the basics of our vine farm. We'll have tall, arches in a way to farm our vines off of. We'll put our plants up on the top, and then we'll harvest everything that happens below the initial plant. We'll be able to do this double-sided as well, because we'll have space on both the front and the back. I think something like this will also end up looking pretty good. Now, to prevent vines from growing on the side of this thing, we'll probably end up going down these things with fences so our vines don't spill over. Vines do have this mechanic. They can be somewhat annoying where they spread to the side, and yeah, we don't want them possibly spreading to the side of this thing. That would ruin the look of the thing. Now, vines are also the hardest to farm because farming them in an aesthetic way is sometimes kind of difficult. So alone, this thing, it wouldn't look bad, but it wouldn't really look good in my opinion. So that's where the challenge comes in. Now, I sat for a couple hours thinking about vine farms and what do we do? If we built a building around this thing, it would have to get pretty tall, and the roof, it probably wouldn't look very good. So I think what we're going to do is do more of a, I don't know what the word would be, maybe like a a mythical feel for the vine farm today, which should be fun. I think the plan is to build 2 custom trees, one over there and one over there. In between the custom trees, we'll do a hanging sign that says vine, no S included. Then, behind all of that, we'll have a bunch of these arches with vines planted on them. So then anytime I need vines, I can easily walk up to them, harvest a single one, have a bunch of vines, and then go about my day. I won't have to harvest the full farm every single time. Now, custom trees. So, this is where we start. Now, the plan is to do basically something that is like the giant tree over there, or really the 4 trees, but 2 this time. Now, I know each tree should be spaced about 20 blocks apart, or that is basically what we have here. We need 20 blocks so we can have enough room to do the whole word vine. Now, these trees should be somewhat tall, but also not too tall. I don't need these trees to be gigantic. I want them to be somewhat of a normal size. So, stepping back and looking at this thing here, what do we have? Is this a normal size? Yeah, that's actually probably the perfect size for this tree. So, after all of that, we need a bunch of leaves. I did go ahead and prepare. We have a lot of oak leaves. I think those are basically going to be custom oak trees this time around. We won't mix in the birch leaves. I do like how it turned out on our tree over there, behind all of these normal trees, but at the same time, I also don't. Now this time, we do have the biome kind of on our side. We're putting these trees in a plains biome, so the leaves are going to look just better. Leaves kind of look... they kind of look dry and dead in a desert biome, and yeah, that's not my favorite look always, so that's why I'm thinking we'll put the vine farm in the desert a little bit and the trees in the plains, because, again, the leaf color, it looks so much better. Now, custom trees, again, it's really just kind of placing leaves randomly and taking a step back and hoping things look like a tree and not like some odd bush thing. So it's just going to be all about trial and error. We have to get the first custom tree in, then we can put the sign in, and then we'll figure out where the other custom tree needs to go, but it should be about over there. We should definitely have enough room. Now, what do we have so far? Do we have a tree? Yeah, you see, we don't have a tree. We have, like, a twig sticking out of the ground. That's pretty weird. We definitely need more leaves on the left and the right and the front for sure. That's where I should be focusing this build. Admittedly, a pretty laughable start, but it's just a start. Don't judge me yet. Please, just please don't. But to help this tree come alive and, you know, kind of get personality and more realism, we're going to have some vines hanging from this tree, but not the vines that we're farming. The vines that are made out of leaves, so something that looks like that. Now, I can already tell you that this corner, that's going to be way too blocky. What do we have now? We're getting there. We're definitely getting there. That's starting to look a whole lot better, but I think what we need to do is add a little bit of height on the left side now and sort of round things out. We need this to look more like a circle, I think, but not a perfect one. That would look weird. And for good measure, before we look at the tree this time, we'll go ahead and put our spruce accents on this thing as well, so we can get more of a vision as to what this is going to look like. Again, when making custom trees, if you're using oak, I definitely recommend trying out some spruce slabs and staircases on the thing, because it adds a lot of detail. Seriously, it looks really, really good once it's finished. And the spruce stairs and slabs do a really nice job of hiding this part of the oak block. Definitely keeps the tone a lot closer. So, taking a step back, what do we have now? Do we have a tree? Yes, we definitely have more of a tree. Now, I can tell you that that piece right there, that's too tall, so I'll trim that down, but that's definitely what we're going for, something that looks a lot more like that. Now, this side still needs a bit of detail, but I think overall, this tree is a whole lot more like a tree and a whole lot less like a twig. So, what did I say? If you judged me before, you were way too soon to judge, because this is starting to look like a tree. It needs more work, but it's definitely getting there. That looks pretty good in my opinion. So, let's take a look at the final tree. Only a little bit has changed since last time, but there we go. I think this tree is pretty much perfect. So, that means the sign. Now, the sign, for now, is going to be made out of oak plank blocks, but the plan is to actually head over to the mesa that we found last episode and change the oak planks into green terracotta, because I think that would look really good with the whole vine theme. Now, this sign should be sitting kind of in the tree a little bit. Like, I want it literally touching the tree. So we start with a V because, I mean, that's how you spell the word vine. But I've got to go down 1 block. So, you know what? We'll make it a U for now. And we'll see if the letter placement is good enough. So, what do we have? We have a good V, but you know what? I'm thinking that we move the V 1 block in, so it's literally right against the tree. I think that would look a whole lot better, but that height is perfect up above the ground. I want the sign to be suspended quite a bit above the surface. I think that'll help make it look really, really majestic. So, yeah, I think that's good. You know what? Matter of fact, I don't think I want to move that in at all, because if we have green terracotta, that might blend in way too much with the tree. So V, check. The next letter we need is an I. I, check. Now the I is a little bit taller than the V. It's actually taller by 1 block, but that is intentional. The I is also set back 1 block. It'll make sense in a minute once we get to the E. So now we need an N. Now, in my opinion, N's are usually kind of tricky to do. Sometimes I struggle with them a little bit, but that's okay. We can do it because my parkour is on point today. So that makes everything even more enjoyable. All right, N, check. We have Vin now, very cool. And finally, we have an E to spell the word vine. Now, why not an S? Well, really, because that would add a lot more space to this. But right off the bat, I can tell you that E is way too far spaced out. But the point of making the I taller is so the E actually has room. E is a letter that we cannot shorten. Like, if we were to remove 1 layer of that E, then it wouldn't be an E anymore. It'd be just a jumble of blocks. I also don't want this sign to be too tall overall. So I think by staggering the letters inwards and outwards, it kind of helps balance the height of the letters. But this E has got to move 1 block over. That's a little too far over. So, here we go. This is the final placement of the sign with oak planks that will later be turned to terracotta. Vine. I think that's good. Now we need another custom tree to support the sign on the other side. But this custom tree, it's actually going to be a little bit more difficult because we have to have this tree end up right against the E, which kind of is a little bit more tricky. I might try and build this one from the top down. That might work a little bit better. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, you see the trunk, like placed like that, that's way too close to the E, like way too close. Look at how far that is from the V. That's like 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 blocks. That's 1. You're gonna have to readjust that, definitely. A little bit of time later, and boom, there we go. We have a second tree in. The second tree was definitely a lot more difficult to do than the first tree, but I think they look balanced, and I think overall they look pretty good. Hey, by the way, a little side note here, I feel like Vine would be a really good name for like some kind of video app. Maybe like short videos? I don't know why I feel like that, but maybe it will. Maybe somebody will use the idea. So now the sign, the word Vine, it needs support. Now to do the support, I think we could probably use, I don't know, I'm torn between spruce fences and oak fences. I mean, the spruce would blend in with the logs here, but I feel like the oak would stand out more against the green letters that'll eventually be in here, so let's actually go with oak fences. Now, these fences should probably come out of the tree and be mostly behind the letters, but visible a little bit. So I'm thinking like maybe a fence there, and then we kind of start coming down, and maybe actually we'll do like a fence gate there so it connects over to the leaves, but anyways, we'll have fences go down and kind of basically just connect the letters together. So something kind of like that. All of the fences don't have to connect either. This will just kind of be a random thing. And I think it'll add a nice touch of realism to the build, right? So the letters don't look like they're literally floating above trees. I mean, I'm going for majestic and mystic, but not like entirely fake and just made up. So yeah, something like that, but I think that these supports should also be uneven. They shouldn't be like all connecting. I think that'll kind of ruin things. So maybe we do like something like that, and then these aren't even connected to each other. I don't know. I feel like that'll make it look even better than it would if they were all connected. Now, if I'm being honest, this is all sort of just guesswork here. I'm trying to figure out how things would actually end up looking good. Maybe we'll support the N a little bit too. And you gotta remember that the words aren't in the right block, so it's not gonna look entirely correct. But yeah, something like that, with the fences showing through just a little bit. I think that looks really good. And hey, would you look at that? This is exciting. This is our first vine plant, so we can go ahead and harvest that and then go ahead and move it over just like that and let them grow again. That's pretty cool. All right, getting one final connection in right there. That should be good. Let's go ahead and get rid of the cobblestone and take a look. What do we think? Yes, I think all of the letters are supported good enough. We won't be able to tell for sure until we get the green letters in, which we'll do in a minute. But now the rest of the vine farm. So this vine farm won't actually be very deep. I'm thinking it'll kind of like wrap around something like this and then kind of just honestly curve back over. Now, we need some kind of border on the vine farm to make it look actually finished, right? Now, the border, I think it should be a combination of a bunch of leaves just piled, but not these leaves. We'll probably do spruce leaves, and then rocks. Now, these rocks will be made out of cobblestone and normal stone, and they'll be in literal random piles. Eventually, once we have enough vines, we'll come back in and get some mossy variants on the cobblestone, and then, of course, slabs and stairs and everything like that. But for now, we don't really have that, so that's not exactly an option. The plan is definitely to first get a lot of vines and then worry about something minor like mossy variants on this wall. Now, the wall should be really randomized, something like that, and then again with stair and slab variants in there as well to add a little bit of detail. So that's the next step. Oh, and then maybe a little bit of andesite too. Andesite might look really good in there. Then all of the sand needs to actually turn into dirt. Now, thankfully, we have a lot of dirt, so I'm not really worried about that, but all dirt in there and maybe even a little bit of coarse dirt would look really good. Now, this wall, it'll definitely be climbable. It won't keep things out or things in. This wall is definitely more for looks. I might even end up leaving some gaps in it, like maybe over here, so we can go out this way, because I'm sure eventually we'll have more buildings over there. But so far, I would say this build is really coming in exactly how I imagined it. I'm actually insanely happy with how this is coming out, and that's good, because before the episode, I mentioned earlier, but I was planning this thing for like a long time, like sitting and thinking, trying to imagine something, and then even placing stuff down in a creative world a little bit, which I don't even usually do. And I really think this design is going to work out really well. I think it'll look really cool when we're done. But by the way, this initial support thing that we built, that might have to move, and we might make some modifications to it, but I think what I have to do is get more stone and cut down a couple spruce trees, which have been growing in the desert to prevent podzol from growing everywhere. I don't really want all of this grass over here in the field to turn to podzol, so I've got a little bit more back and forth to do, but I think for the most part that's most of the build. So more tree cutting for me, more leaf harvesting for me, and a little more block placing again for me. Oh, and I have a bit of digging to do as well. We've got to get rid of the sand. I almost forgot about that. Oh boy, and one of those things. Of course, they're always spawning here. That's what I thought. And so we meet again, but this time I'm over at the ocean now. So I'm on my way over to the mesa biome for terracotta. I really need to get that green terracotta today, because otherwise I'm not really going to know what this build will look like in its final form. So I figured it would probably be worth our time to take a trip down over to the mesa. Now, last episode, we grabbed a bunch of orange terracotta, but unfortunately, because it's already dyed a color, orange, we can't re-dye it. So that means we need to go to the mesa and find undyed terracotta. I don't think green spawns within the mesa biome. I could be wrong on that, but I think it's the warm colors, like red, orange, and yellow, and things like that. So, yeah, I think we're going here for undyed terracotta. Now, we do actually have a lot of green dye left over from when I made a bunch of glass panes for that first custom tree that we were doing that we ended up not using any glass panes on. So we're set there. It's just the green terracotta. I'm thinking we'll need maybe a stack of undyed terracotta to be safe, but I might grab a little bit more just because why not? This time, the inventory is way more empty, so we can definitely carry more. The plan is to also fill in the map a little bit more as we head there, so that's why I'm kind of traveling randomly, trying to make sure I get everything filled in here, because otherwise I'm going to be really bothered on the map. So that's what I'm up to now. The farm wall, though, is pretty much done, and I've actually expanded the vines, but we'll talk about that when we're back at the base. Right now, it's walking time. Mesa, sweet Mesa, there you are. Wow, what a beautiful biome. Alright, back at the base now. It's green terracotta time. Now, I got way more than just a single stack, just to be safe. So, the build. This is where it's at right now. It's got the vine sign still, and then we have the whole wall in. No mossy variants quite yet, because this is still a thing. These are still trying to grow, but I did change these. So initially we had oak last time you saw it, but then I realized that the oak over here sort of matched the trees a little too much for my liking, so I decided to swap the oak out for spruce wood and then strip the spruce wood so we have the same tone on this whole structure here. So that's good. I have one more idea to add to these things, and then I have to get the fences on the back sides and then all of the vines on the back sides, and then 2 more of these giant arch structures will come in. But now it's time to change these letters over to green. I think green is definitely going to make these things look a whole lot better. After that, we have to come back in and make sure the ground actually looks detailed and cool and better than it does right now, because as it stands, we have a giant green grass patch in here, and that's not how I want things to look. It looks a bit unfinished in my opinion, and that's definitely not good. I want this vine farm to be, hopefully, the main vine farm for the whole series, and that means it's gotta look good. Now, the bushes around the edge, they definitely do stand out, the spruce leaves, but I think it's okay. I don't think it's too out of place or too bad looking, so for now, we're gonna keep the spruce leaves, but I think birch leaves would have worked really well in here too, and honestly, might have ended up matching a little bit better with the build, but again, I don't hate them, so I think I'm gonna keep those leaves in there. I definitely do need to get some mossy variants, though, in this whole wall, because right now, it's really gray looking, and I don't think the gray is great. Haha, no pun intended at all. I promise. That would be really lame of me. So, yeah, there wasn't a pun. I don't know what it was. I decided to skip the andesite because I don't want the wall to look over textured, especially once we get the mossy variants on that thing. So, no andesite on the wall for now. Maybe we come back in later and add it once we get those mossy variants, which unfortunately won't be today, but maybe. It's just one of those things that I thought we'd be better off holding off on for now at least. But here we go. Here is the rest of the E in there now. So plank, all of these planks, these have to come back with me. Definitely not letting those go away. And then what do we think now? Oh, yes, definitely. That looks really cool. I think that looks a whole lot better. Maybe the end needs some work now that I'm looking at it with the green terracotta, but overall, that I think looks way better than what it did before, so we're gonna keep it. That's really cool looking. It might even look cool to mix some spruce fences in up there on the supports, but at the same time, again, the over detailing thing, I'm trying to miss that, so I'm gonna skip it for now, and then maybe later we come back and do that. But coarse dirt time. I need a lot of coarse dirt in here to break things up, and I'm definitely going to use path blocks in here as well. Now, seeing as there's no clear walking path, the stuff will be randomized in here. It'll just be basically a bunch of coarse dirt, a bunch of random path blocks in here, really to add detail. And then we can use some of the bone meal that we got a few episodes back from the bone meal machine to add some grass and flowers into here, because that will definitely make this thing come alive as well. Now, I do have some future plans in front of this vine farm. I can't say them today. It's top secret information currently, but just know that this whole vine farm area, will be blended into something. What thing? Ah, nice try. You can't get me to say it. I'm not gonna say it, but it's gonna look cool. So I guess stay tuned. It would be a good time to subscribe if you haven't done that yet for whatever reason, which might be a little crazy, but hey, it's okay. Some people are. It's better late than never. We'll say that. That's the nicest way to say that. Hey, don't forget to subscribe. Now, the key to making these vine structures actually look good is making sure that they vary in height. So this one will be really, really tall, and then the one over there, that one will probably end up being a shorter one as well. If all of these vine arches, as I guess we'll call them from here on out, were the same height, I think it would look too organized, and this is definitely not an organized build. It's more of a randomized build. Now, if you didn't know, you can right-click on a log to strip it. This is one of the best things that was added in Minecraft 1.13, and it makes the logs look so nice. Now, the final beam thing. So I'm thinking this one will be a short one. Maybe we go only 3 blocks high this time, so it'll be the shortest one that we have in here up to this point. Now, the nice thing about this design is it can easily be expanded later on. If for some reason this isn't cutting it in terms of vine production, well, we could either make all of these things a little bit taller, or we could just expand the wall. We can move the wall back and plant more vines, or make more arches for more vines, you know? So, not a big deal, but there we go. So now I need a bunch more spruce fences, and then really I just need to wait. I mean, other than the bone meal. We need the bone meal to come in here to make sure this area looks way less flat and empty. But for the most part, that is going to cut it for our vine farm. Oh, hold on. I have one more big idea. Now, I've got to be clear. I don't know how this is gonna look. This might not look the best, but let's go ahead and try it out anyways, because I think this thing on the top could use a little bit more shape. So what if we did a trapdoor, and then we went over here and did another trapdoor, and then in the middle we did spruce slabs to create more of an arch on the top. Now, unfortunately, we can't really turn the blocks that the vines are planted on into slabs or anything to make a really good arch, so that'll have to do. Yeah, but I think definitely that helps add more shape to these things. So we're going to do that on each and every one to make it a little more interesting, and that'll be good. And these vines over here are growing like crazy, so we're going to have to get pretty good about harvesting these things. And whoa, whoops, I wasted one. We have to harvest these though and spread them around, because we need a lot of vines to be planted in here. Like a lot. Like this whole thing needs to be filled up and double-sided on every single one of these structures. Oh yeah, definitely. That shape, ooh, that's a beautiful shape. I love that. That's great. Now fences. We gotta make a lot of this stuff. Yeah, no, we're gonna need way more than that. That's a start though. Oh, and before I forget, a campfire. I wanted to add a campfire in here. Now, the campfire might be a bit of a pain, so I think what we could do is, where can we put the campfire actually? I think we could put it in here. This should be a good spot. We just have to make sure it's not a pain. So if we raise the thing up like that, and then we build around it to add a little bit more structure, I think that would be a cool look. It'll make it look like a campground in there and provide a lot of light in the middle. We'll definitely need more light around the sides though, because that's really dark and I don't want mobs spawning in there. Honestly, what do we think? It looks a little weird. It looks like a burning barrel, but I don't know if that's a bad thing, actually. I think that kind of looks good, but would it be better without these? I just can't tell. We're going to leave them for now. And you know what? This is going to be the first build where we do this in this world, but I think it would be smart to add a bed in this build so we can sleep whenever it turns to nighttime. So if we put a bed right there, and then we put trapdoors all the way around it, except on the front, it'll look like a bench, and it'll function as a bench too. I just need grass to go back there. Mess that one up. Can we make that a path? No, we can't. Okay, it'll stay as grass forever. Perfect. Oh, right. So aside from planting more vines on these arches, the final touch is the plants. We need lots of plant life inside of this thing, and flowers probably should be the main part of the plant life. For now, we'll just leave it at that because we don't really have much of a flower farm, but Something like this definitely brings this area to life and helps finish this whole thing off. So, I guess actually finally, we need to find a spot for the crafting table and the stone cutter. I think that these things should probably stay in this build because, I mean, you never know when you'll need one of these things. So maybe we do the crafting table back there, and I'll put let's put spruce trapdoors around the thing. So crafting table, check, that's good, that looks fancy, and then the stone cutter should probably be nearby, so we'll put the stone cutter back there, and that is going to be that for today. So now I need to just continue to basically harvest these vines over and over again and get this whole farm populated up with vines. This is something that is going to take some time, so what we're probably going to do is move ahead with other projects in the next few episodes and let this thing grow. Eventually, this thing will be fully filled in and we'll be able to come back and replant all of the vines and the thing will be good. And then we'll have excess vines. Which makes me remember, we need one more thing. We definitely need some sort of storage situation for the vines as well. So for now, we'll just do a chest here, but eventually I'm thinking we'll make some sort of storage building and we'll funnel all of the vines from this farm over to the storage building where they probably should be kept. But that is just about it for today's episode of the Minecraft Guide. What do you guys think about the vine farm? Do you like it? Remember, keep in mind that it's not entirely done. We need more vines inside of the thing. Once the vines are fully grown, I think it'll look really good. But that's about it. If you enjoyed the episode, drop a like and subscribe if you haven't yet. Remember to turn those notifications on too. Those are very important because, I mean, you never know. You don't want to miss an upload. Today, I'd like to send a big shout out to my guy on Moose. Thank you so much for the support, and I'll see you all in the next one. As always, streams Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you check them out. Early access to the episodes on Patreon. Goodbye, everyone. Stay cool.